Alright guys, so we're going to be hopping on the Chieftain Dark Horse, powered by the Thunderstroke 111. Alright, got a push to start, which is pretty cool. 7-inch compatible touchscreen, largest, fastest, most customizable infotainment system on 2 wheels. Looks really cool. I'm going to go ahead and put it in sport mode. That's cool. It's got an like a horizontal gear indicator. Got 3 riding modes: sport, standard, and tour. Remote locking saddlebags, which you can lock and unlock with this button here. The windscreen. That's super cool, guys.
Alright guys, so a couple more stats while we're sitting here waiting to take off. This bike from the factory is claiming 119 foot-pounds of torque. It has a 5.5 gallon fuel tank with a seat height of 25.6 inches. It has dual 300mm floating rotors with 4 piston calipers up front and a single 300mm floating rotor with a 2 piston caliper in the rear. Keeping this bike planted to the ground are the Dunlop American Elite tires with a 19-inch wheel up front and a 16-inch wheel out back. It features dual 46mm forks up front with a single shock in the rear, and does feature quite a few creature comforts such as tire pressure monitoring, remote locking hard saddlebags, ride modes, keyless entry, and a 100-watt audio system that does include Bluetooth and USB compatibility.
Alright, so this is going to be pretty much Indian's equivalent to the Street Glide. Thankfully, I have ridden quite a few Street Glides in my time, so I'm going to be able to give you a good comparison side by side here. So I will say that these floorboards are freaking gigantic. I mean, goddamn. I wear a size 12 foot, and look at that. That's insane. Right off the bat, the first thing I noticed is that the throttle is very nice. It's very smooth. It's very light. It's definitely different than what you find on the Harleys. I'm not sure how much this bike weighs. I'm sure I told you in the intro, but feels ridiculously lighter than a Street Glide or a Road Glide for that matter. Let's see. Wow, flickability is insane. This thing is just as nimble as like my Fat Bob is. The power is definitely there, but it's definitely delivered in a different way than it is on the Harleys. Going back to the weight, the one thing I really don't like about these Street Glides is how the weight feels like it is. Is that me playing music? No, it's got to be Roadblock behind me. Okay, so I felt the power lacking right there, getting on it like that. My daily rider is a Road Glide Ultra with the 107. It does have a stage 1, but even the 107 by itself, it felt faster than that did right there. Sorry, I keep getting distracted. Going back to the weight, the reason I don't like the Street Glides is because it felt like all the weight was so far forward on the bike that when you turn your handlebars, it takes, you know, your entire body to move that over. That's definitely not the case with this bike. This fairing feels like it's weighs 4 pounds. Feels super light. Low speed turning is very nice, very smooth. I will say though that I do like the sound of these new Indians better than the sound of the new Harleys. They definitely have a more unique, poppier sound. Brakes are great. I believe this has dual disc up front. The power is definitely higher in the RPM range than on the Harleys, which is to be expected. Indian bikes are more classically focused on horsepower than torque, which is going to give you more power up top than down low. I'm going to wind deflection. I'm going to kind of play around here with the windshield. I'm going to take it down. Wow, that's crazy how much more wind you get with that. Alright, so go ahead and bring it up. I'm curious if you guys can hear the sound difference in the mic. I personally would still like a taller windscreen, but I believe you can still swap these out. I'm not feeling any wind on my body. The Batwing is doing a great job of getting everything off and around. The only place I'm really feeling it is on the top of my head. Granted, I'm 6'2", 240, so I'm a taller dude, bigger dude. I'm feeling a lot on my legs, which this bike does not have lowers, so of course you're going to be feeling on your legs, but still very comfortable. This bike does come standard with ABS as well as cruise control, and it also has TPMS, which is tire pressure monitoring system. This one's not hooked up, but I did find the screen for it. It'll actually show you your PSI for the front and the rear, which that's pretty cool. It is a very cheap add-on. I believe you can get those sensors that hook up to your phone for I think about $100 if you want to put that on your bike, and that's pretty much universal, so you can put it on your bike, your car, whatever you want. I will say I'm really not liking these analog gauges. I really don't like how this one's analog and then it has a little LCD screen in the bottom. I really don't like that. I just don't like the look of it. That screen's also pretty hard to see. This screen right here I love. I'm playing around with the interface. It's very easy. Big giant buttons. I mean, it's impossible to miss those. The screen's very nice. It's a very high quality screen. It's easy to see because they have this little built-in around it to where it kind of shades most of the direct sunlight. But I almost wish that they would get rid of these gauges and just put either digital gauges or just a bigger screen. I do like the speakers, how the speakers are tucked in though. I like that. It looks really good. As far as comfort goes, these bars are actually pretty nice. If you've watched any of my other test rides, I usually rip bars to shreds. I'm very picky on my bars. I don't like my wrist to be bent. This, granted, is a little bit more bent in than I would prefer, but I could ride with these bars a lot further than I could with stock Harley bars, for sure. I don't know, it probably doesn't look the same on camera, or they might look the same on camera, but they definitely do not feel the same. As far as the seat goes, the seat is pretty comfortable. I wouldn't rate it as high as the seat on my Road Glide Ultra, but it's definitely more comfortable than a lot of the stock Harley seat. You could definitely push the seat further down on your to-do list with this seat. These bikes also feature a cable clutch, which most Harleys now, at least the touring bikes, are going to hydraulic clutches, which some people are a fan of, but I really dislike them. I'm more of a fan of the classic cable clutch like this one is featuring, so that's going to be a hit or miss point for a lot of people. Alright, here we are getting ready for the highway portion. Alright, so 6th gear going at 75 miles an hour. We're about 2,800 RPM. Oof. There's really there's really no torque at that speed in that gear. Yeah, it's not there, guys. I'm sorry, but that wind's gonna have to go to Harley. It sounds good though. I will say that I like the sound a lot better. So this particular model MSRP is at $27,499. That puts it right in the wheelhouse of some of the other Harley baggers. And honestly, I think it's spot on the pricing comparatively. Now, I still think that it's overpriced on the grand scheme of things when you take into account all makes and models. But comparing, I mean, let's face it, these are competing primarily with Harleys. I think both companies are pretty much right there neck and neck. I have a hard time picking a winner between the two. When we talked to Adam Sandoval, he said that there's pros and cons in both, but they're very neck and neck, and I have to agree with him 110%. There's little things here and there that each brand is doing better, but there's not a clear winner by any means. As far as the suspension goes, I think it's right on par with Harley. I have to say it handles it well. It's a smooth, comfortable ride. Alright guys, so I like to finish off these reviews with two questions, and that's, who is this bike for? and would it be a good beginner's bike? Now, who is this bike for? Obviously, this bike is built for the people who want to go out and crush some miles, and this bike would do that extremely well. I think you could put 1,000 miles on this bike, no problem, and still be very comfortable. Would it be a good beginner's bike? I mean, it's really going to depend on your size. If you are a bigger guy and can handle the heavier bikes, sure, go for it. If you're a smaller person, guy or girl, and need a little bit of practice getting used to how the bikes handle and things like that, maybe not the best choice, but it's definitely something that you could grow into and have a good time. And then of course we got the push to turn off. That's a cool feature. What does this button do? Nothing? Okay. Alright guys, well, if you have any questions about this bike, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I have been very impressed with this bike. Definitely a worthwhile competitor to Harley. So if you're not a Harley fan or just want some more options, definitely come check out the Indian. Shout out to Mission City Indian for putting on this event and allowing us to film and cover all these bikes. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you haven't already, go ahead and punch that subscribe button. And as always, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time.